Joining me right now is Louisiana Congressman, House Minority Whip, Steve Scalise. Congressman, it's great to see you. Thanks very much. Can you fact check for us?
Yep.
Is this the most legislation that's ever passed in year one, ever?
If you multiply by 50 everything that they've passed and signed into law, and then if you look at the actual damage done to hardworking families, they've probably set that record for the first year of an administration in terms of higher inflation, higher energy prices, things that are hurting the lower income families that President Biden said would be excluded from all of his taxes and spending. They're the ones being hit the hardest in this first year of far left big government socialism.
Yeah, it's been a tough year, Congressman. I have to admit, the American families are hurting. They've got sky-high inflation, gasoline prices 60% higher year over year, food prices up 15% or 13% on meat. Across the board gains on a number of food items as well as services like hotels. Also, what do you think it is going to take to get us out of this? Because we are ending the year with Americans not better off at all.
You know, how about we start with President Biden actually following through on the things he promised when he ran as a candidate. He didn't run saying he was going to be the most far left big government socialist in the history of our country. He said he was going to work with everybody. Remember that? Work with Republicans and Democrats. He gets a flat out F on that report card score because he's not worked with Republicans on any of the big agenda items. In fact, he still to this day has not met with the House Republican leadership. We as a team have not met with him a single time, even though we've requested multiple meetings on a lot of these challenges, how to secure the border, how to lower inflation, how to lower energy costs, how to address the supply chain crisis. For goodness sake, people are trying to get their Christmas gifts and they still can't even find them because they're sitting out on a tanker somewhere in the Pacific Ocean because of this president's failed policies. So on every front, he's not followed through on the promises he made to families. That's why his numbers are so low. People don't like the fact that frankly, he's just cut this deal with the far left, and that's all he cares about. You know, if the squad and the big government socialists say jump 5 feet, he's going to try to jump 5 feet. He's not going to try to work with those of us that want to solve these big crises that are hurting hardworking families.
Well, I think part of it is the lies and the mistruths coming out of this White House. I mean, for one reason, that independents, 60% of independents in a Fox Business poll said that they're disappointed and they're unhappy with Joe Biden's performance. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki is claiming that the administration saved Christmas. Okay, she says that the supply chain crisis is fixed. Inflation is on the rise. We know that. And we know that the crunch at the nation's ports may very well last until the middle of next summer. We've spoken with the port operators, Congressman. What do you think it's going to take to get us out of this jam at the ports?
Well, saying they saved Christmas, it's like the arsonist showing up with a fire hose saying he put out the fire. It's going to take them actually working through all the challenges. You know, when you've got you can't get truckers, you can't get people to work the ports. They're paying people not to work. There's still, you know, even with enhanced unemployment benefits running out, you've still got so many other new welfare programs that were started under this administration with all the trillion-dollar bills. By the way, you want to do something new? President Biden should have a New Year's resolution to never use the word trillion again. No bills should be $1 trillion or more. That's one of the reasons that you have this massive crises of inflation, supply chain, everything down the line.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially since they tell us it's $1.75 trillion and it's actually $5 trillion. Which is, of course, the CBO and the Committee for Responsible Budgets assessment. Let me ask you about the 2022 midterm elections. Maybe that gets us out of all of these jams. Senator Mitch McConnell publicly urging Senate Minority Whip John Thune to run for a fourth term. Thune and Senator Ron Johnson are the only Republican senators up for re-election next year. They have not announced whether or not they're going to run again. 24 Democrat Congress members have announced that they will not seek re-election next year, Congressman. What are you expecting in the midterms, and why do you see so many resignations on the Democrat side?
Yeah, I think that Democrat number is going to break 35, maybe by the end of the year, surely by summer when the new districts all get drawn, because a lot of these Democrats realize they're going to lose the majority. They don't want to come back into a Republican minority in the House. And they know, by the way, that we're going to make Congress work again. They're going to have to go back to work. We're going to end proxy voting We're going to make committees show up in person. Maria, there are many committees that still have not even met in the committee room face-to-face this entire year. Businesses are getting back to work. You know, you've had your frontline hospital workers and people working in grocery stores through the entire pandemic, and you've got some members of Congress that have not shown up a single day in D.C. since the speaker's vote because they're proxy voting all year. Let's make Congress work again. Those are the sort of things we're going to do when we win the majority back, and we're actually going to hold people accountable and have real oversight hearings. How did this virus start? Why do we have all these crises, and yet every federal agency, the cabinet secretaries, are focused on how to write rules that are illegal to force people to do things that Congress hasn't even passed laws to do? How about these cabinet secretaries actually focus on doing their jobs, getting their agencies to run? And that's going to be some of the different things that we do, in addition to laying out a very bold conservative agenda early next year to show how to get the country back on track. Those are going to be the things I think that are going to excite voters going into the elections.
Well, Congressman, we certainly will be watching. We so appreciate your leadership, and thank you very much for being here this morning. Congressman, Merry Christmas to you. We are
Merry
grateful
Christmas
for
and happy holidays.
And, for you joining us this year in 2021. Thank you so much, Congressman. Steve Scalise joining us this morning.